to this computer. AI companion. Do we need to enable this? Yeah. Okay, so this is enabled. And then, hello everyone, how's it going? Good. So this is the second to last meeting of this group, or at this time, at least this option. So we have this conversation, the 1 in 2 weeks, and then the group is no more, at least in this format. So exciting and good, putting this, closing this part of the work. So let me share my screen and go to the agenda. So Mo is not here, so let's skip this one. Dan, you have some points on your exit criteria you wanna share?
Yeah, I think I've created some duplicates, so I might just spend some time cleaning them up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also define the exit criteria for some of them, mainly to reduce scope, so we can achieve it by the day and we can iterate on
Yeah.
as we go along. I think one of the main one is the template that's suggested in that issues. We have a few good ideas there. I just want to make sure that we agree on one and we go ahead with just the
Mm-hmm.
template. And yeah.
So on that one, what is for me, at least the way I think it is, the quickest thing we can do is write documentation right now. Like the ideas we
Yeah,
have, first write your documentation, and as needed, push to a template. What do you
yeah,
think?
yeah, great. Yeah, great. I think that's a straightforward point there. We
Yeah,
need to just go and document them and then in due
we
time we
might.
can implement.
Yeah, we might have a repository that serves as an example instead of a template. So we set up a repository with the guidelines, just like following poetry, an example of things, the right contributing.md, the right maintainer.md, like CI pipelines that need to be set up, but not exactly a
Mhm.
template, just like an example. That would work as well,
Okay. Will you
right?
suggest that we add to the list of uh, documentations we have in Docs at GitLab
I think
or
the
a
first
separate
step,
repo?
no, a separate repo.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think the quickest, like this is an idea, but the quickest thing, and I think the most impactful thing right now is add docs. Maybe
Mhm.
later add
Yeah.
an example repository.
Okay.
Repository. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Uh, Tatiana?
Yeah, so basically I got a bit stuck because I didn't know how to best organize the templates information that I wanted to add to the documentation. And like you suggested to create, so like the problem was that we needed to kind of create this rule for uh, Python maintainers, but it was not clear to which project we need to add that
Mm-hmm.
because from the limitations of the roulette and danger, I don't know which
Mm-hmm.
one exactly, it's impossible to kind of use kind of create the rules for review for one project to actually to fetch the rules from different projects. So you can't have in an AI gateway, specific AI gateway maintainers and also maintainers from some other project. So first I thought about using the like GitLab project, but then there was this like Alejandro working on this Python template. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
this is might be idea, but then you suggested in the comments that we might create a separate Python namespace in GitLab and then create the project maintainers and put all the rules there, which I find a good solution because it also allowed me to put all of the kind of issue and merge request templates for the maintainers there as well.
Yeah. I think that if we have it would be nice because if we have discussions, like you mentioned, if we have discussions across the maintainers, like on how Python should be at GitLab, then we also have a place for that, right? So you have like the Python maintainers group could be a place to discuss those issues and evolution.
Yeah.
I think it's that
Yeah.
might, and then we would have like an initial pool of reviewers for smaller projects, right? If smaller projects want a Python reviewer pool, okay, perfect. That's a great solution.
Yeah, and then basically you can, like, my plan was to add the rule there, like to create the file with a reviewer roulette rule. So then basically kind of if you set up in a small project, you can just like fetch it and it'll be you'll get the review process automatically.
Cool. That's awesome. That's a really good step forward. And I think it's one of the best outcomes of the working group so far. Cool. Anything else on that exit criteria?
Yeah, I still kind of want to discuss the backwards compatibility rules, but then I added to the discussion so that we, it's a big topic.
Cool. Of Python for Python reviewers for smaller projects. Okay, cool. And I think over time this will be really good because then every small project already starts with a Python maintainers that know how other projects are structured. So at the beginning of the new projects, they are already like on the right path and can be adjusted to the right path so that everything keeps consistent later on. So I really like this. On my side, my updates is so 10 fixed some of the issues with PyPy that we had. So it just made it easier for us to connect and log into the PyPy page. And then I added documentation for to use PyPy. So if you're using a library or an utility, both of them can be deployed using, well, any package can be deployed using PyPy now. I don't have yet guidelines for services because this discussion is a lot larger than the scope of this working group. I'm trying to get something out of it, but I don't have anything yet. So, but at least for libraries and utilities like evaluation li5 or libraries like Cloud Connector, we can now deploy using you can deploy to pip and then just do a pip install, which makes it a lot simpler.
I have a question about that. Are we using an organization for PyPy?
There is no organization for PyPy. Organization for PyPy is currently on some kind of beta. They don't have full support, so it's a shared account that's available through 1Password. And thanks, Dan, for just getting that in the right shape so that we can use.
Yeah, so Andras is working on getting an organization for us. He was working on GitLab MLOps organization, but we're going to try and do it one level higher to get a GitLab organization for PyPy. So we'll keep you updated on that. And we're also going to try to get the GitLab package on PyPy, which is essentially abandoned since 2018.
All right. It's org on PyPy is in beta, and I think it's probably going to be a paid feature of PyPy or something. Like they are discussing. There's some warnings of right now we do what we have to do. So where are all the attendees here? It's and 10 and okay. So while I'm writing this, Tatiana, you have the first point.
Yeah, so I wanted to discuss the very kind of complicated question if we need one kind of blanket policy for backward compatibility for all the Python services. And I might not using backward compatibility in the right meaning, but I mean basically what is the range of the GitLab instances that we support with this service. Because like I made an example that we have like example is AI gateway that we have in AI gateway we have one endpoint which use like one server like underneath use the service A, and then it's kind of complicated, so we abandon it and switch to new endpoint and service B. But then we kind of still need to support the service A because the older instances have only like fetch information by the endpoint A, endpoint one. And basically, if we just remove this code from the code base, in arbitrary moment, this like self-managed instance of GitLab will stop working. Like for them, it will be very not clear why all of their AI features stopped working. So feels like we need to have the policy around there.
Yeah.
And I wonder how it's like I wonder if it's something specific to AI gateway, or we have like for example workflow, dual workflow also have the same problem.
So we haven't faced that problem yet, but I'm sure we will. So it's definitely not the AI gateway specific problem. I wonder what is the general policy in GitLab around like deprecating or removing API endpoints, because I think that this is kind of I would look in there as the inspiration or as the policy that is already accepted by our customer base that hey, GitLab can remove the endpoints. I believe we can only remove the endpoints where we release the new versions, but I'm not entirely sure. Like new versions of the API, so not the even GitLab major version, but we have v4 of the REST API, and I think we can only remove if we would bump it to v5, but I'm not entirely sure if that's the true or maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, so yeah, indeed, we can't like basically in one version of API, everything's supposed to be kind of should be not no any breaking changes there. But for me, our policy around that is kind of like a cautionary tale because we're supposed to kind of release new versions of the API kind of more often, but there was some like reason why we don't do it. But we also have the policies that you can change the endpoints, you can change the like the inputs outputs if they are in beta of experiment state. And I saw endpoints which stays like in a beta for years only because nobody like wants to bother like with a backward compatibility, and it's like the feature is fast pacing, and it feels like in AI it's also like very fast pacing. We can't afford to actually accumulate this tech debt for ages.
Yeah. So the problem here is cloud connected, self-hosted cloud connected, because .com will always be the latest version to the latest version. It's fully self-hosted, can always map a older version of GitLab to an older version of AI Gateway. But self-hosted cloud connected is a potentially very old version connected to the latest version of AI Gateway. That would fall into our lifetime support, which is 3 years, but like 3 major versions. So you could potentially have eventually like a 17.0 connecting to a 20.0 AI gateway, right?
Yeah.
And it is supported. It should be supported. But what I'm thinking of, what if we can deploy multiple versions of AI gateway? Like suppose that we are shifting now from 17.11 to 18.0. So we keep a deployment of AI Gateway for 17.11 that will serve for the 17.x customers, but 18.x customers now have the new. So that on 18.x, we can remove all of the old code from AI Gateway because that will still be supported on a different branch.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
really
with
like
that,
this idea. Yeah, go on.
yeah, I mean, if that is needed, I would imagine opts out to do that routing at the outer layer, like
Yeah.
some kind of header to switch the traffic to different payload.
Yeah, so this should be on Runway. This could be even a default supported service for like not on AI gateway level, right? Like we don't do this at AI because more services will have the same problem eventually. But this could be done at either at the Cloud Connect side but I don't think this should be in the Cloud Connect side, but at least on the Runway, we could have this mapping happening in a more transparent way at
I think we,
at a rod. Hmm?
I think we might have these issues already with GitLab, like AI Gateway on SaaS. Given different versions for client, we might have compatibility issues.
Yeah.
For example, the language server could be expecting certain things that the server now no longer support, for example. I'm not sure if we have a clear policies around that yet. I think it's less informal.
Yeah, I think the clients don't have that backward compatibility. It's at the best effort that they do it, which is
Mm.
at least from my end, I realized I experienced, and we had an issue recently because of that. That was because of a compatibility problem, and they don't have a mapping between expected versions. So they don't have like, okay, if you are on GitLab 17.2 or 17, not 17.8, you should be using this version um, of the plugins, which is a problem for self-hosted. For .com is not such a big problem, but for self-hosted, that's kind of a big
Yeah,
problem
yeah.
that we need to talk about.
I think, yeah, at the moment, there's one problem with that gateway that, yeah, self-hosted. So self-hosted customers, they use an old model, Claude 2.1, and we can't really remove that from AI Gateway because they point to, you know, GitLab manage AI
Hmm.
Gateway. So we can't really retire it yet until they move into different versions.
Yeah. Okay. So outcome of this discussion, Tatiana, do you have from what we discussed?
So as far as the stance, we agree that we have to support, like we need to provide the support for at least 3 years, like a 2 major release back, and then we can but actually to not break the compatibility for even older instances. We just can create the deployments of AI gateway in this case to serve this older
Yep.
instances, and then we can clean up the code. It actually made me think about when I was working in secure stage. I kind of had the same issue that we had. We were releasing these security analyzers, and sometimes they were also incompatible with newer versions of GitLab because they needed to be run during CI/CD stage. And what we were actually doing the same. We were releasing containers for each kind of GitLab version. So basically, then you can map it one to
Yeah.
one.
This is how AI Gateway on self-hosted AI Gateway works. So we have every time a GitLab is released, we cut a release for AI Gateway with the same tag, with the same version tag. So that way customers can map one version to the other. But Cloud Connect, that's why Cloud Connected is the problematic one here, because they don't control the deployment of AI Gateway. So that's where backwards compatibility is necessary. But cool. Do you have enough to continue the
Yeah, I can write a policy, but I'm not sure like this is supposed to be like I can create an issue to add this yearly supports to AI gateway. And like from my understanding, we also needed to document it somehow somewhere. And so then we can actually expand this process to not only AI gateway, but to other projects like, for example, workflow,
Yeah.
maybe
Let
something
me
else.
get this issue because I think this will go way beyond the. So on the scope of this working group, I think saying 3 years cadence, like we need to support 15.0. Like that is the GitLab standards. It's 3 years, it's three major versions that we give support for. What support means is also GitLab defined, like it's not us, but we say that we support, we need to support. And then the other question is, can we lower the impact of this? And this is more like of AI gateway discussion right now, and runway, and I'll create an issue and I'll give this to the right teams, which is AI gateway.
I also think that's like in our documentation, even if it's like for developers, because it's public, we should write also that we are not going to just, immediately cut out everything after 15.0, because I might expect that some customers may read it and get the wrong ideas.
Yeah. Cool. Next one that you also had, next point.
Yeah, I was like filling gaps in the information that I'm missing for finishing the task for the code review guidelines. And basically, kind of, I was working on the checklist issue, like basically the issue that we agreed to have for maintainers when they kind of like template if they are ready to become maintainers. And I wonder, like, we have similar for Golang, which have kind of the list of the stuff that you need to learn before you can call yourself GitLab Golang expert. And I wonder what we should put there for Python. So I came out with kind of this small list of the data structures, typing, related things, inheritance, and then fast API, like PyTest probably for sure. Fast API, maybe not because it's kind of more also AI gateway and like as I understand workflow, for example, don't need it. Maybe link chain, light LLM.
So LangChain, and we are using even LangGraph, so it's the further like next iteration of LangChain, slightly more complex. But I think at least having the LangChain basics to help one to onboard to another. So
I added typer because it's like what we're using on most utilities that use command line. So that could be, it's very simple, but it's nice to have an idea of how it works. It's very similar also to Fast API uses Pydantic. So I would go here and add Pydantic.
So yeah, it was also my question. Do we agree on Pydantic, right? So this
Yeah, I
is
think so. So this one here, this two LangChain and LightLLM, they are more specific to AI, library specific to AI. And the other ones above, I think they're more general general Python that needs to be known. At least like links to things where we learn about this. Yeah.
There is also a logging library, Fred, you mentioned on the last interview with us. Does it fall into this category as well? I forgot the name.
Logguru.
Yeah, this one.
Logguru. Do we use Logguru somewhere?
We can consider, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you mention the interview, do you have like any list of the stuff that candidates need to know?
Brent, that's a question for you.
The question was if there's a list of things they should know in the interview.
Yep.
I'm not sure if there's a list of things that are specific. I'll have to check the vacancy, but in general, it's fast API.
Random reminder that this is a public recording, and so don't go into detail much about the interview itself. Look, this what a little
Sure,
bit over
yeah.
the project, but just a reminder.
Yeah, that's good. No, this is all public information. So it's fast API, and I think it's Pydantic. But I'm not sure about what's in the vacancy by heart. I don't recall that there is a specific framework that you need experience with. Like for example, if you have similar experience with Flask or Django REST, that is somewhat applicable to Fast API as well. So I think it's more about the concept. Because remember, before Fast API, everyone was raving about Flask, and suddenly Fast API took over and everyone's talking about Fast API. So what's going to be the next package that everyone wants to use?
Yeah, I will then tag you an issue, and if you can like have anything else to add, please.
Sure.
Okay, so we're almost out of time, but there's a list here for you already, Tatiana. And so like I said, I'll just bring the last point before we finish one. It's not really a point for to be discussed here, or we could, but there's no time right now. We have one more meeting after this and 1 month. So my suggestion is look at the documentation that we have right now and find the one thing for you that is missing. Like on your workflow, what is the one thing that you would like to see in the documentation? And see if you can either create an issue for that or you can already work on this. So right now, since we have only 1 month, it's not the time anymore to have big dreams. It's more of the time of consolidating what we already have to close off this in a good shape. Sounds good? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. So, yeah, thank you for the conversation, and see you maybe in the afternoon or see you soon. Thank you. Bye.